hey, remember when War of the Spark was marketed as like, ooh, super cool, and like Magic's Infinity War, and like, oh, it's gonna start a new era for Magic storytelling, and all the past years of story were gonna come to a final climax and stuff. Remember that? Remember that? I sure don't, because 3 people died. Who should have died in War of the Spark? There's a lot of people who should have bit the dust in that book, but you know, it's all forgiven because the book as a whole was shit anyways. But I do have some caveats, and that is with the nature of planeswalkers themselves. You see, in order for Wizards to stop having to make new characters constantly, what they do is they take a planeswalker and put them in suspended animation of being a person. So that way basically barely any change happens to them, and nothing happens. Like, they have stories and arcs and stuff that start but are never finished. War of the Spark was supposed to be a finisher for a bunch of characters who did not have any sense of like their stories coming to an end, if that makes sense. Basically, they were dealing with a bunch of unfinished characters who needed more screen time. So I can't kill off as many people as I'd like to kill off, but we're gonna kill off a few. So by analyzing the character arcs and stories involved with the people who were in War of the Spark, I will be going through every person who showed up who was a planeswalker and determine if they should have died or should have lived. Just so I don't waste like a massive amount of time, I'm gonna first go through the people that I think should have lived, and then I'm gonna go to the people who I think had a case to get killed off.
Do what you want, cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate.
Angrath. Angrath has really yet to play a real protagonist in like any of the stories he's shown up in, which is 2, Ixalan and War of the Spark, and in both he was a sideshow. He needs like his own set in order to like have a story before he can be like killed off, because otherwise he was just a flash in the pan, or not even that. No, he was just a dribble in the pan. Ashiok was just given no screen time despite getting put on a card, which is unfortunately a common occurrence with Ashiok. You can go watch the video I did about Theros Beyond Death if you want to see more of Ashiok getting shunted to the side by Wizards of the Coast, because they have to be, ooh, mysterious. So because they aren't really a character yet, they're safe.
Skip it up and down up.
Chandra. Chandra's one of the oldies, so I thought like there's probably a good case to have her getting killed off. Except here's the thing, Chandra has never undergone a legitimate arc. She had a little bit of a thing in Dominaria, but aside from that, she's just been the same person the whole time. And then immediately after War of the Spark, okay, not immediately after, Chandra got a legitimate character arc in her comic. And you know what? It was okay. It was pretty good. She's had a fuck ton of screen time, but she hasn't really, she's just had the one arc. So as a result of that, I think there's more potential for her character there, and the only time they ever used any of that potential was after War of the Spark, so I'll let her live.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Davriel Kane, he's only been in one novella, and he's great. I don't want him to die.
Good soldiers don't always follow orders. Good soldiers do always follow orders.
Huatli. I want to offer the description Weissman makes of Huatli in War of the Spark real quick. Huatli is a short, powerfully muscled woman with warm brown skin, searching eyes, and a grim mouth. She is mostly armored and armed, with a long, tightly braided black ponytail emerging from beneath her helm. fucking brilliant prose. Incredible. How the fuck are you mostly armed? Okay, so Huatli has a weak character, to say the least. She basically just realized her nation was like kinda racist and then decided to leave. That's it. She doesn't really do anything other than that. She needs a set to star in and have like a legitimate story and motive and arc, like a normal character. Jianyanggu. Jianyanggu is just a small Chinese Garrick with a dog. He apparently has amnesia, but just decided to help this random clan with their pandemic issues for literally no reason. He's a fucking mess, and he needs a set to establish a legitimate motive. You'll notice that this is kind of a problem with a lot of planeswalkers.
Autobots, transform and roll out!
Karn. Karn still has the Phyrexians to deal with, so he gets a pass. Kasmina. Kasmina was brand new and actually got a card in a set after War of the Spark, so she's safe. Kaya. Kaya has had a really great motive setup. Her homeworld is dying and getting a little more insane with every moment. That's like the one thing I liked about Forsaken. That's like the one thing I'm willing to accept as canon. Though her stories and her gimmick doesn't really line up with that whole motive well, because usually you'll get a planeswalker who specializes in a type of magic that like, they study it because it'll help them somehow fix their problem, if they have a problem in the first place. Like, Jace is always getting mind wiped, so telepathy. I don't know, something like that.
Bro, I could save this fish.
Kiora. So aside from Kiora's weird like Stockholm Syndrome relationship with sea monsters, since her sister apparently got eaten by one and she still likes them, Kiora really fucked up in Battle for Zendikar and kinda has to do a redemption arc still. It could have been done in War of the Spark and it would have been great, but they didn't do it, so if they didn't do it in War, I think she should have lived. If they did it in War and took that opportunity, she should have died. But she would have been a decent character.
雪花飘飘，北风萧萧。
Mu Youngling. Like Jianyanggu, Mu Youngling is kind of a mess. The wiki page describes how her motivation is basically just to find her lost mentor, who I guess she's like in love with or something, whose body like disappeared after he fucking fell over and died. But they also allude to like some kind of redemption thing that doesn't have like any okay, someone needs to sort her out, all right? Someone needs to like make her an actual character. Narset. Narset's the only human person, aside from Sarkon, who knows about and can try to bring back the clans of Tarkir. I want them back. Give me back my clans, wizards. I like them. Fuck the dragons. I don't want lizard people. I want snake people. Sneeple, Sneeple, Sneeple. No! I don't want to be brave! No! Obnixilis has yet to be the primary villain of something, and also he's kind of an anarchist, which I think is cool. I like him, but he needs some more screen time, and his involvement in War of the Spark was kind of meh.
I appear to have invented a knife-wielding tentacle.
Saheeli hasn't had much of an actual story outside of her home plane or anything resembling a character arc, so I guess she gets to live. It's incredible how so many people get to live simply because they're bad characters or like haven't had enough screen time. This is some dumb shit.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Serious crap.
Tamio's like the only happily married planeswalker in existence. Plus, she's never like taken on a main character role before, and still has that whole Emrakul and the Moon thing to deal with. So I'll spare her life.
Whilst you were out partying, I studied the blade.
The Wanderer. I mean, come on. She was on screen for like, what, a paragraph? All right, on to the people who have a case for getting killed. These are people who've had enough screen time and enough arcs, or just were in a situation where they probably should have died.
Well, I wrote this song for the Christian youth. I want to teach kids the Christian truth.
A Johnny would be in character as a noble sacrifice and has just kind of been pulling a Gideon wherever he goes. He's just Gideon, but a cat. He just goes from one thread of the multiverse to another without much in the way of character growth. So there isn't really much left for him to do. All that shit got solved in like Alara or whatever. So he should have bit the dust.
He threw a piece of fresh mush on the ground! Come on, Tony! What the fuck are you doing around here? You know we're in a famine!
Dak Faden. Dak was one of the 3 people who died in War of the Spark. He had a good amount of screen time, and though he didn't have much in the way of character growth, I don't think it was wrong of him to die, necessarily, but I do think he died with some unused potential. So he's kind of a meh.
Nim's longest recorded sentence was, "Give orange me, give eat, orange me eat, orange give me eat, orange give me you."
Domri Raid, one of the other three, there were 3 people. One of the other 3 people to die in War of the Spark. Domri never got a character arc, was never likable, and just was given the short end of the stick without even knowing what was happening. It was really, really stupid, but Domri was a really, really stupid character. So they could have made him a not stupid character and like a legitimate anarchist, but if they were gonna keep him like that, I think he should have died. Just maybe in a less stupid way.
Let's say you've been a bad girl. Let's say, hypothetically, you've been a naughty girl even.
Dovin. Look, Dovin's a dick, but he served his purpose as a villain, kind of. He wasn't a very good villain, granted, but he didn't... Oh. Ow! We're fine. We're fine. Let's keep going. Okay. Okay, look, Dovin's a dickhead, but did he serve his purpose as a villain? Technically, but he was a bad villain. He didn't really have a great motive for working for Bolus aside from being horny for Bolus's brain, I guess. With some extra work, he could have been a cool standalone villain if he didn't die in fucking Forsaken.
Who are you? I am from ancient Greece.
Gideon. Gideon was a good choice. Gideon had a good arc. Gideon was a okay character. I didn't really like him that much up until he died. Yeah, I think he should have died. Jace. Jace has had a fuck ton of screen time. But like many other characters, he's kind of lost his edge since then. And I don't mean like that kind of edge. Well, I do, but I also mean his motivation hasn't really been there since Bolus mind wiped him. And he's just been kind of a mess. His character has fallen into what I like to call the blue motive hole. See, all planeswalkers typically have motives tied to their inherent like core color. White walkers want to restore order, peace, or destroy evil, you know, that sort of thing. It's not a great motive, but it's there. It's a motive. Green walkers are usually motivated by some kind of philosophical stance, which usually isn't too bad as long as they're consistent, unlike Garrick a little bit. Black walkers share in sort of the philosophical side of things, but they also tend to be a little Saturday morning cartoon villainy. So they're okay most of the time. They're fine. Red walkers have the strongest motivations when done well, since they fight for deeply personal reasons like family or love or vengeance. Blue walkers, on the other hand, are motivated by basically nothing except, ooh, shiny, or ooh, this gives me a brain boner. Jace could have had a motive to find out like what wiped his mind when he was a kid and first showed up on Ravnica, or helping somebody he cares about change for the better. Like the philosophy of Blue preaches. But no. You know, there's a whole host of shit I could say. Hell, I might make a fucking whole video about Blue walkers and how fucking boring their motives are most of the time. I think Jace still has more potential, but so far it has not been utilized. There's an argument to be made about Jace dying, and I could see that happening, but personally I would rather if he lived.
Here's my gas can. My brother Josh blew himself up, and his 2 kids.
Jaya is just an old Chandra. She's so old, let her die and let her rest. Give her the sweet release of death, good God. Liliana. Look, I'm as big a Liliana simp as anyone else, alright? But Liliana's story is just kind of over. You know, like, after Strixhaven, there isn't really anything else for her to do. I don't think she should have died and wore the spark, but I mean, at this point, there isn't really anything left for her to do. Like, damn. That shit's sad. She had a good arc, but it never really like came to a head or like a big climax or anything. And she basically was just told like how to solve her problems by Witherbloom, which is very, instead of like figuring out the solution for herself, which I feel like would have been way cooler and a lot more Liliana-esque, but I guess not. She's, for how important a character Liliana was, not just to the story but also to like the fan base, her story ended like really anticlimactically. I would have liked her to see her like still be involved or like do her arc by herself instead of being told, oh, this is your thing, this is how you should cope with it.
I don't need friends, they disappoint me.
Nahiri, the whole point of Nahiri being there was to fight Soren. Both of them are still alive, and until one of them kills the other, it should stay that way. Otherwise, I think they both should have died either after resolving their blood feud or as a result of it, because they've been around for a really fucking long time.
How dare you! You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words.
Nissa, everything involving Nissa for the past 3 years has just been her cutting off her relationships. I mean, what does she do? Be quiet, talk to Plant, get rejected, talk to more Plant. She hasn't had a character arc or anything resembling permanent change ever. She's hella static and isn't cool enough for it to be okay. She should have died. She has no future.
I, Aku, the shape-shifting master of darkness, unleashed an unspeakable evil.
Nicol Bolas should have been killed, not imprisoned. And it should have taken a hell of a lot more to defeat him. He basically just clapped the cheeks of everyone who tried to stop him for like the entirety of the book, but then like Liliana was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. And suddenly she got the upper hand on him and just fucking murdered him like that. There was no cool fight scene. There was no rematch between Ugin and Bolas. Ugin just popped in, stole Bolas, and plopped it in the plopped him in the meditation realm. It was really anticlimactic, and I wish it wasn't that way.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Ral Zarek, shoot lightning and make interplanar beacon. Aside from that, he has had no character growth. He doesn't even really have that much of a character. He has a cool backstory, but it doesn't really play into anything he does now. After War of the Spark, all he did was fail to kill Tezzeret. I don't think he had a future as a character, and I think he should have died.
Why don't you go back to your own house and stop bothering us?
Samut. Okay, fuck Samut. Alright? Samut started off, they introduced her character as like, oh, she's like a heretic or exiled from her society because she like doesn't believe in the gods like everyone else does. She's like an atheist or something. And I was like, cool, like, I'm an atheist, I relate to that. And then her Planeswalker spark ignites from euphoria of being complimented by Hazaret. I hate her, and she was written poorly. That aside, I think they set her up bad, and I think she's kind of a dumb character, but she does have a grudge against Bolas. So maybe she should have played kind of a bigger part in the book where Bolas gets oofed. She could have had an arc about vengeance, and it would have been great. But they didn't do that. She was mentioned like twice, maybe. I think she helped on one of the little side missions or something. But without Bolas, she doesn't really do anything. She just kind of helps Amonkhet survive. And like, that's it. Not super exciting when your story encompasses the entire multiverse. Sarkhan Vol. Fuck Sarkhan for making bad Tarkir. Sarkhan wanted vengeance. I thought he was cool after getting his dragons and shit, but I guess he was still mad. Like, pretty much every other character who wants revenge against Bolas, he should have died.
So you want to disrespect anime, huh? Pathetic. Think again.
Soren, same thing as Nahiri, moving on. Teferi's old, but he's cool. Plus, he and Karn still have to deal with the Phyrexians and everything, so he gets a pass. I should have put him up in the not gonna die category. Whatever.
But these rats in my ravioli. I didn't order rat-violi.
Teo. You know what makes a really good way to impress the threat of your antagonist onto your audience? Make a POV character who's brand new and then kill them. Teo should have died. He's useless. He's basically just a fucking shield strapped to like Kaya's belt or something. The plane he comes from seems cool, but as a character, he just seems like a shell of a human and just like a self-insert essentially for anyone who's new to the game. Just read the 6th episode of Hour of Devastation. I think it's Hour of Revelation. It's really good, or at least I remember it being really good, but it was really effective in like portraying how cool and sick and fucked up the Eternals were, because they messed shit up and they were cool. And then they became like super easy to kill in War of the Spark.
Hi, this is Tommy Wiseau, creator of The Room. Let me introduce you to the new Joker.
Tybalt's an ass. He's been less of an ass and more of a legit villain in the Chandra comic and Kaldheim. And if those didn't slightly redeem his character to me, I argue he should have pulled a Domri and died.
And then there's Chunky. He's dead. Chunky's dead.
Ugin and Nicol Bolas should have fought. For real. None of Ugin's pussyfooting shit with like, ooh, meditation realm, I'm gonna pop into existence. No one gets to see me. Yoink. It's fucking fight. Do Crux of Fate again. Do that, please. It would have been so cool. But no. So I think that Ugin either should have sacrificed himself to kill Bolas, or whatever fate befell them, they should have shared, because it would have been poetic for Nicol Bolas' origin story.
What the fuck is that? Get my guy if you green cunt.
Vivian is just Nissa but with animals, or female Garrick with a rage boner for Bolas. Despite being green, she falls into the blue motive hole because her motive, aside from killing Bolus, is, ooh, shiny animal. And that's not a real motivation. That's not what you base a character around. Should have played a bigger role in killing Bolus, but she also should have died, since they brought Garrick back anyway.
Excellent, Snake.
Vraska. Vraska had a cool motive. Vraska had a good arc in Ixalan. Vraska pretended to be a healthier love interest for Jace than Liliana, but did similar, if not more reprehensible things during their time together. The only difference is that Jace is constantly forgiving Vraska for all the shit she pulls, like concealing his memories, or killing Asperia, which threw Ravnica into chaos. I have many thoughts about why I think this relationship is bad, but ignoring that, Vraska had a good arc. Her character was decent. Her story is basically done. She should have died. That, ladies and gentlemen, is every person who should have died in War of the Spark, as seen here by, I don't know, I guess something I'll make. Whatever. Yeah. I hate you, Greg Weisman. I don't actually hate him. I don't care that he exists, if that makes any sense. Just, this seemed like a funny video idea. I enjoyed making it. If you want to support me, you know, hit the usual buttons. And yeah, I'm probably going to be sticking a lot more to magic shit from now on, because I actually like want to make videos about that instead of like generic writing stuff. But yeah, that's that. I think I am going to make that video about why blue planeswalkers suck. Bye.